Hey, happy Sunday, Facebook family. Coming to you with another episode of Facebook Live with me, your trusted parenting advisor, faithful guide and servant on the healing journey. What's my name? Big Papa Bryan Post. Now, I had a thought. I need a title for these daily shows that I do. So, I'd like for you to give me some suggestions on what you think the title of this daily show should be. Because this is like the second Sunday in a row now that I've been like, I think I'm just going to take the night off. And then I'm like, nah, I'm going to keep going. So I need to know what title you think would be good. And so send it to me. If you give me the winning title, then I am going to do a 1-hour free parenting consultation with you. So again, I need a title for these daily talks. If you have the winning title, then I'm going to do a 1 hour. We'll hop on the phone. I'm going to do a 1 hour 101 consultation, parenting consultation with you. Just a little incentive to give me some feedback and let me know what you think. Okay, so in today's episode, we're going to talk about 3 tips for dealing with the terrible twos. So I'm not sure what age your child may be. Some of you are dealing with 2-year-olds. Some of you know someone dealing with 2-year-olds. So if you know someone dealing with 2-year-olds, please share this video. So this is important. And I said 3 tips. The truth of the matter is, I don't know. I just figured I'd start talking and you'll probably get 3 tips. So tip number 1 or thought number 1 is that when your child reaches 18 months old, their fear receptor in their brain called the amygdala is fully developed. So their stress receptor, their fear receptor in their brain is on high alert all the time. So it easily pumps out cortisol. They easily feel threatened. They easily get overwhelmed with really small occurrences and transitions. And you may notice an increase in stranger danger. They don't want to go to their aunts and uncles or their cousins or whatever like they used to. They want to cling more to you as a parent. Well, the part of their brain responsible for interpreting stress and threats is fully developed. The part of their brain responsible for short-term memory and helping them to think clearly in the midst of stress, their hippocampus, is not. It actually won't complete its development until the 36th month. So a full another 18 months before your 2-year-old has the ability to calm themselves down and be able to override the stress that they may be feeling and be able to think clearly and remember that, this is someone I remember, someone who's familiar, so they're probably safe. So remember that. Full 36 months. So the biggest challenge with the terrible twos, and we call them the terrible twos, I don't really agree with that because, you have this little person who's getting into everything and, they're prone to biting and acting out and they don't want to take naps anymore, all these kind of things. What you have to understand about this little toddler, this little tyke, this little hell on wheels is that his brain is growing at this moment faster than it's ever going to grow. Okay, from now up until the age of 5, his brain is going to grow to 90%. So his brain is literally on fire. And this is really the challenge that we have with teens as well, is that teens' brains, when you hit pre-adolescence, the human brain starts to fire up and prune away everything it hasn't used up until that point. So with your child, it's important, especially with your 2-year-old, that you understand that their brain is just astronomically growing. I mean, it is growing every second, every minute. 90% is the pace of their brain development. So it's so interesting to keep in mind that actually, Ray, it's from conception all the way up to 5, 90%. Up to 7, it's 98%. So by the time your little person reaches 7 years old, their brain's 98% its maximum capacity. So keep that in mind. So remember, this little person is under a lot of stress. See, stress is what leads to brain development. And so that's why stress is not all bad. So stress is actually charging his brain into growth. And you have to be sensitive to this little person. Now, what's really also very important about this, and you could call this tip number 3 already, is that when you stress, you regress. So your little one, though he's 18 months old or 24 months old or whatever he may be, when he's in a moment of stress, he's not at 2 anymore. He's back to infancy. So he'll continue to go back to infancy every time he gets stressed. And that's important because a lot of times you'll find a 2-year-old wants you to pick him up. And you're, in our biggest problem for 2-year-olds is in our society, because in our society we want to take 2-year-olds and we want to make them little mini adults. That's a big problem. This little person needs your regulation. He needs your oxytocin. He needs your soothing. He needs your kindness. He needs your gentle support. He needs your understanding, she, during all of their transition challenges. So really, it's going to be better for you if you view your 2-year-old as closer to an infant than you do, a little person. And in truth, in reality, they really are closer to being a baby than they are being a mini adult. But we live in such a fast-paced, stressed-out society. We keep wanting to push our kids, and that's the same thing with sleep. Lay down with your kids. Let them sleep in the bed with you. Let them sleep in the room with you. Give them time. Give their brains time to develop. Give their oxytocin responses time to develop and to be able to modulate their own stress. That way, when they finally do start sleeping by themselves, they'll lay down and they'll go to sleep and they'll sleep all night. So the other thing about 2s is the tantrums. We call them tantrums. They're not tantrums. They're like infants crying. Pick him up, pick her up, soothe them just like you would a baby. Give them a bottle, right? I mean, it's every time your child starts to reach a new developmental milestone, he or she's going to regress back to an earlier stage. So before they can move forward, they got to back up. And remember that, because you could have a 2-year-old who's already walking and all of a sudden he starts crawling again. And you're like, what the heck is going on? Get up and walk. Well, that's because he's actually backing up, getting ready to make a developmental leap. So it's really important that you just be patient. He's only going to be 2 once. You're only going to have this little period of time for a small period, a short period of time. So nurture your child as long as you can. You cannot spoil a child. This is another misconception. You cannot spoil a child by picking them up too much, by feeding them too much, by loving on them too much. There's no such thing as spoiling a child in that manner. You can't spoil a child internally. You can only spoil a child externally by overindulging them and giving them more than what they need, giving them things as opposed to you. That's the only way you spoil a child. You don't spoil a child by holding them too much and loving on them too much. And if they're crying for you, it's because they need you. So slow down, be gentle. This time is short. You're not going to get it back. And just take your time. There's no rush. You're investing in your child now. You're making a short-term investment for a long-term gain. Every time you give of yourself, every time you give into their needs and their stress and their cries, just try to put out all that noise about where they should be or how they should be and all this garbage about, having peer interaction and socializing. That's some crap. At that age, really the last thing the child needs to be doing is hanging out with other kids because they're all just as stressed out as she is. Keep your child home, nurture them, soothe them. If you got to send them to daycare, I understand that too. When you get home, be available, be present, hold them, carry them around, feed them, love on them, sleep with them, let them sleep with you. Do all the good stuff. And do it as long as you possibly can. Don't listen to society. Society is wrong when it comes to this stuff. I mean, that's why we have so many stressed out adults right now, because all us as adults grew up with all these notions about letting kids cry themselves to sleep and making them take care of themselves as soon as they possibly can. That's wrong, ladies and gentlemen. That's not nurturing regulation. That's pushing children into independence before they're ready, and that's always going to lead to a problem. So I just want to encourage you, slow down, be patient, love your children while they're young, give in to them, realize their brain's on fire, feed them, nurture them, love on them, and love on them, and love on them some more, and that's all I got to say about that topic. So remember, in any given situation, any given experience, we all have 2 choices. We can continue to be overwhelmed and react from our imprints of fear and stress, or we can stop, we can take some deep breaths, slow down, and we can choose love. God bless you. Have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Remember, let me know what do you think a good title of these daily shows will be. Whoever wins, whoever gets the best one, I'm going to give you 1 hour free parenting consultation. We'll hop on the phone, and I'm going to answer as many of your questions as I possibly can. All right, good night, everyone.